Hello, and welcome to Rob from the Internet Talks About Beer, a show where we discuss different styles of beer, their history, their flavor profile, and whatever else happens to pop into our heads during the conversation. I'm Rob from the Internet. Let's talk about beer. All right, so joining me today is someone who I've been trying to get on my show for quite a while, but due to circumstances on both sides, we've had to reschedule, I think, 5 or 6 times. First it was someone had car problems. I won't mention any names, and then someone mistakenly booked something else on the same day. I won't mention any names, and then someone else happened to book the interview when they forgot they were going on vacation. That was me. But here we are finally. So joining me today is the one and only Ren Navarro. So if you could, Ren, tell me a little about yourself, how you got into craft beer, and what it is you do in the craft beer world.
I obviously got into craft beer not from scheduling, because I can't schedule myself out of a wet paper box. I've been in craft beer for almost a decade, but I've been a craft beer fan for longer than that. I currently run Beer Diversity, which is a diversity and inclusion consulting / advocacy company. I also run Do Better, Be Better, which is the non-alcoholic version of Beer Diversity, which when it really gets up and running, we'll be working with kind of at-risk youth. So pretty much like anyone, it's starting from mid-teens up until the 30s if they're in marginalized groups, and just getting them with mentors and helping with leadership. So it's, that because of COVID has obviously been slow to build up, which is probably a good thing, because I need a little bit of time, but it's great because there's a lot of people from different backgrounds who are helping on that in terms of like where they're working and where they're coming from, because it is not beer focused, which I love, because though I want to talk about beer all day, I can't talk about beer all day.
I mean, I'd like to talk about beer and drink beer all day, but unfortunately, this is just a little side gig for me, so I have to do real work before I can do this work.
You're lucky, because it's like I say you're lucky, but I don't want to come off as some spoiled brat, but I do a lot of tastings. I did a couple tastings today, and but I also get to just talk to people about beer and how they see it and how they perceive the industry and how the industry perceives them, and I think that being part of it is always really fantastic, and getting to see how it evolves or it doesn't, or what changes and what doesn't change, especially over the course of the last 10 years.
Awesome. All right, well, without further ado, we're going to get right into what we're talking about today. So today's style is West Coast IPAs. So for those who've been following the show for a while, you'll know that this is our third show on IPAs. So we've done session IPAs, we've done New England IPAs, so now we're doing West Coast IPAs. All right, so for anybody who doesn't know, the IPA originated in the United Kingdom. It has a huge range of acceptable alcohol levels for the style, anywhere from 4.5% all the way up to 20%, if you can believe it. It's a hoppy beer style within the broader category of pale ales. It became known as India Pale Ale in the 1800s, and it became very widely known as India Pale Ale around 1815, and because it was one of the most heavily exported beers from England to India, hence India Pale Ale. Among the first brewers known to export this beer to India was George Hodson's Bow Brewery, which was around for several decades before they got bought out, and then the recipes were used at another brewery. I don't remember the name of that one off the top of my head. but demand for the export style of pale ale has become known as India Pale Ale. Really exploded in the mid 1800s, about 1840, and has maintained a level for quite a while, and then shot up in popularity again in the starting in the mid 90s. It really started getting popular again. West Coast IPAs are traditionally known for their bold hop aroma, their high bitterness, and their citrusy and piney aromas and flavors. Would you agree, Ren?
I would totally agree with that.
Yeah, of course you
I think
would.
that's part of why I like it. Yeah, I know, right? I'm just like, yeah, sounds good.
Damn yes, people. So,
Hell yeah.
West Coast IPAs are typically brewed with higher amounts of hops in the boil, sometimes for longer amounts of time, but not always. It depends on what they're going for. And then they also do the hops towards the end and dry hopping during fermentation to increase the bitterness and to add mid-palate hop flavor. So that's about all I have for the history and the flavor profile of this style. You have anything to add to that, Ren?
I feel that like when we talk about West Coast, there's a pretty big variation on it these days. Like I don't think anyone is as true to style as they could be. I think that there's, because of the hops that we're playing with and the hops that we have access to, right? Like, 20 years ago versus 10 years ago versus 5 years ago. It's
versus last week.
Versus last week.
But yes. All right, so I am going to be drinking a Ontario Classic from Nickelbrook. It's their Headstock IPA. It's a very safe implementation of the style, and one that I'm familiar with because as anyone who knows me knows, West Coast IPAs aren't my thing. I can barely tolerate New England IPAs. I'm more of a stout and porter and bitter kind of guy. What are you going to be drinking today, Ren?
Those are solid choices. I'm going to be that guy, and I'm going to be drinking the Renaissance from Parallel 49, and I say being that guy, it literally has my face on the can.
Which is fucking awesome.
It's a collab I did with them. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. All right. So typically what we do is, we just take a drink and we talk about the aromas that we get from it, and then what the initial flavor that we get from it is. So on the headstock, the aroma, and this is the part I'm really terrible at because I've got one of those noses that I really can't discern a whole lot from the first bit here, but I get citrus on the nose, and that's about as exact as I can get with this.
What kind of citrus?
Yeah, so this is kind of, I guess this would be more like I would go with a white grapefruit as opposed to a ruby red because it's not real sweet. It's kind of got that kind of like the white grapefruit rind flavor to it. Kind of that bitter, pithy kind of scent to it, But and same with the flavor. So when I take the initial sip, I got that same type of thing. It's got that kind of bitter citrus rind, and I know I'm going to say grapefruit on it, but it's rather indistinct. It's just more of that generalized. If you bite into an orange or a grapefruit or whatever, that kind of bitterness you get from the rind itself. That being said, I mean it's not bad. It's not overly bitter for me. That's one of my big arguments with West Coast IPAs is they tend to be too bitter for my liking. What about yours?
Right. Yeah. So this one comes in at 6.3%, and it is. I'm not going to call it a true to style. It's not as bitter or dank as one would expect. It's a little bit more pink grapefruit. So there's like a slight sweetness to it, but it does give way to like a pretty pine flavor. It's pretty in your face with it, and then it does finish with like a good solid bitterness. And again, that's that like the rind, and the pith of it. So that piece holds up.
Now on my second drink, now that my palate has become kind of attuned to the beer that I'm drinking, I do get I mean, honestly, it takes 2 or 3 sips before your mouth is like, oh yeah, okay, now I know what we're in for. This is what we're doing. So I get the pininess. It's actually, it's not even really piney so much as it's more like evergreen, that kind of resiny flavor. It's not necessarily, it's not pine, it's not spruce. It's kind of all of them together. It's that generalized, kind of like if you were to take a piece of Scotch tape and put it in your mouth and hold it there. and don't ask me how I know that.
I have to ask why. That's exactly what I'm gonna ask. I'm like, wait.
Yeah, well,
Scotch tape
of course. So I have a terrible habit. If I have a pen in my hand, I'll put it in my mouth while I'm doing stuff. And no matter what happens to be, if I happen to be working on something and I need some place to hold something, it goes in my mouth while I have to use both hands. So Scotch tape has inadvertently gone in my mouth while I was working on things.
I like it.
Yeah, well, hey.
All right.
I'm a simple guy. like I said,
Scotch tape in your mouth.
Like I said before we started recording, I'm just an old school buffoon, man.
I like it.
So on subsequent sips of yours, what's the flavor profile like?
It still holds up. I think that it's kind of that resiny flavor, but it's still got like some solid pine to it. And as I said to someone earlier today, I was like, fresh pine, like you've gone skiing and you've wiped out, and there's like fresh pine around you, and it's in your mouth. Not like it's dry.
As opposed to,
so it's still got,
as opposed to pine sol.
Yes, yeah. Don't put that in your mouth, kids. Yes. Yeah, it's deadly. Don't do it.
Hey, I mean, they put Tide Pods in their mouth.
Listen, that is an entire generation that I'm like, I guess you gotta do what you gotta do. Like, I mean, if someone has to put that into their advertising campaigns, by the way, don't do that. That's Darwinism.
Well, yeah, I mean, I agree. The Darwin Awards should be handed out a little more often than yearly. Yeah, I think they should be quarterly at this point. All right, so tell me a little bit specifically about this beer. You said it was a collab you did with was it Parallel 49? Is that the name of the brewery?
Yeah. So
I'm not really familiar.
In Vancouver. Yeah, BC based.
Oh, look at you.
And they've been around for a few years. Well, I mean, part of what I do is consulting, so I've been working with them since the end of last summer, and so so this is kind of their like they to me and kind of the like, hey, here's some, our nod to you. So it's been good, and so that's what came out.
Awesome.
So do you know what? I will drink any kind of IPA. So this was what made sense.
So did the collab end up because you started out by doing consulting for them and then they wanted to do a collab with you afterwards, or was it just they approached you just independently, or how did that come about?
No, So I've been working with them since the end of the summer, and they just kind of as a thank you. That was the like, hey, let's put this out, and so they just said, are you down for it? And I was doing some work with the BC Brewers Guild, and they thought, what if we get this beer out in time that it's available at this point, and so people know, especially those in BC, kind of our relationship. And so I said, yeah, let's do it. And again, I'm so huge into IPAs. Of most of the collabs I've done, of which I think I'm pushing 30. Like, I would say 80. Yeah, but I'd say 80% of them are IPAs.
I'm getting a sense that you might like this style.
I love me some IPAs. To be honest, I'm with you though. But I'm totally with you. I love stouts and porters, but people get scared of them during like warmer months. So it's hard to do them. If I had my way, I would just do stouts and porters all year round.
Hey, I do stouts and porters all year round. We just got back from camping. We were up at Sturgeon Bay, near Perry Sound, and I brought 2 imperial stouts with me for when we were camping. One of them was 11.5%. The other was 10%. I'm sitting out. It's 29 degrees and humid, and I'm drinking an imperial stout around a campfire. I mean,
but I also I want to know, what is this thing that has dictated that porters and stouts are like cold weather when Guinness is poured year round? Like, I don't understand. Is it just like awesome marketing on the part of Guinness that's like, we're different, you can have us all year round?
well, part of it is the fact that Guinness is technically like a session stout. It's under 5%, so it falls into that sessionable beer style. But the other part is, a lot of stouts by nature are supposed to be higher alcohol, so they were more the colder weather because they were winter warmers and things like that, and it's just kind of carried over. And for the last 30 years, I've been trying to buck that trend and get things turned around to where imperial stouts are a year-round thing. I mean, but
yeah, but I don't get it. And I mean, technically Guinness is a porter. It's not a stout, but Guinness porter doesn't have the same sound, I guess.
Right. Well, I mean,
if you have not had a beer from Grey Matter, which is in Kincardine, they do an oatmeal stout that's like, it's so good, and it's year round, and it's perfect, and like, I want everyone to drink it because I'm tired. I can't have dark beer when it's warm out.
Yeah, no, I have stouts year round. My wife Lisa and I we have this mock argument going on because I call anything that's less than an 8% a session stout, and she says you can't call it a session stout. So then I say, well, how about a summer stout? And she's like, no, you can't call it a summer stout either.
Under 8%.
So a little thing about me. I'm a big guy. I have a lot of soak power, and I tend to gravitate towards the high ABV beers. I consider anything under a 10% beer is not a strong beer in my book.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe I'm just an alcoholic.
I like that. Oh God, no.
It's like do you remember was it I think it was Jimmy Fallon when he was doing, was it the Tonight Show? He's like always did the thank you notes, and he's like, thank you craft beer for making my alcoholism seem like a fun hobby.
Yeah.
That's my go-to. Hey, I mean, it's a fun hobby.
Oh man, yeah, I know. I'm just like, oh. Yeah, I try not to do over 6.5 most nights.
Yeah, well, we all have our limits. Some of us are just a little more over the line than other people. I don't want to call you a wuss or anything, Ren, but I call them like I see them.
Yes, but my day job is beer.
This is true. You have to. You kind of have a built-in excuse. You don't want to be completely trashed when you go from one tasting to the next tasting, or from one consultation to the next consultation. Whereas I just sit behind a keyboard all day, clicking a mouse, making sure servers are working. Nobody knows if I'm drunk or not.
Oh man, yeah, no, I, you know what? I also feel like during the pandemic, it just got too easy to like have a lot of drinks. And like,
oh, most definitely,
it's kind of that
lunchtime
moment where
beers
like,
became a thing.
Can I keep doing this? Yeah, and and I'm not saying that I don't like. I feel like we're getting kind of out of this whatever we're in the midst of. But there's this like moment where I have my like I'll drink that every day all day because it's like my favorite beer flavored beer. And then I think some of the bigger stuff that I want to like really savor is like I will have that by itself with nothing around it to be like, okay, like the bigger percentage so I'm like aware of it, you know what I mean? Like I don't know, I'm trying to get back into these fancy moments of like savoring certain beers.
No, I totally understand that. I mean, my go-to during the week, if I don't want to get myself completely thrown off the rails, is Nickelbrook's Cause and Effect, just because it's a nice, simple blonde ale. It's a good beer flavored beer. It's less than 5%. I can drink 10 or 12 of them and not feel bad. I mean.
But that's what I'm talking about, right? Like we all have that one, and I also, and I mean, obviously you're like the big ABV guy, but I've really found myself in the last couple of years gravitating to lagers because I think that if you can make a decent lager, and like not decent in the way of like if I'm camping I don't care, like that doesn't count because you'll drink anything while you're camping, but like a lager that in your day to day that you have that you're like this is solid. I will trust you for almost anything else you make because a lager, you can't hide your mistakes.
This is true. Yeah, if you make a good lager, chances are I'm going to come back for your other beers.
Yeah, exactly. And like you can do a double dry hop IPA, you can do a whatever, like it's fine if your lager is solid. I trust you.
Yep. Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing, because like you said, you can't hide your mistakes in a lager, and lagers are also more of a labor of love because they take a lot more attention to detail, and they take a lot more time because you have to dedicate a lot more time because they ferment at so much lower temperature than a standard ale does. That say it takes 45 days for that thing to ferment and lager in your tanks. Well, that's 45 days. You're not making money from that beer. So you want to make sure it's good and that everybody wants it and they buy it because it took you so long and it took so much effort to make. And if you can make a lager that's solid, I will come back and try all your other beers because if you do a good lager, that means you're probably on top of your game with everything else.
And I think that, it's like new breweries that come out with lagers first. That's they're kind of like saying, check me out, like, and there are a few that have nailed it. And like right out the gate to nail a lager, I'll buy everything you make.
Yeah. Yeah. I have tried to make a couple of different lagers and they've been because one, I'm more of a fly by the seat of your pants kind of guy when I brew. I'm like, it calls for 1 pound 7 ounces. I'm like, 1 pound 8 ounces, 1.5 pounds. That's close enough. Hey, whatever. So yeah, I understand, and I'll probably never make a fantastic lager. But I tell you what, I make a fantastic imperial stout.
Then that's fine.
because and to be honest, little known secret, stouts are the easiest beer to make because you don't have to be as precise.
Right. You can't be giving away those secrets. You cannot be giving away those secrets.
Oh man, big beer's gonna come for me now. And maybe even small beer.
Rob, is someone knocking on your door?
Oh shit! I don't know how, but they found me. All right. We've gotten a little bit off track from West Coast IPAs, but that tends to happen. Yeah. That tends to happen when you get a couple people who really like beer, who just want to talk about beer. It doesn't matter what style it really is. So,
I mean, I say,
if you could, give me if you could give me an example or two of another beer in the West Coast IPA style that you think is good.
I don't know how many people are doing West Coast. I feel like there was this huge surge of them. And I feel like now everyone's just kind of playing with stuff. Like, obviously, like, Headstock is also one of my favorites. But I also, I'm not searching by style anymore, which I think that there was a period of time that I was very who does a West Coast well? I mean, Parallel 49, nails it, but they're literally in the West Coast. I think that's where I get my West Coast stuff from. That's, I'm getting them from breweries out there. And not to say that they're not doing it well out here. That right now having this moment where we're playing stuff and it's rules. What rules? Where we're going, we don't need any stinking rules. So I try not to get to that point where it's this is the best example of it, because I guess that I kind of fail as a beer nerd for that. I don't have my favorite example of a style. I'm just did you make it well? Yes. Did I enjoy it? Yes. As you were.
I'm gonna have to ask for your beer nerd card.
That's fine. I think I burned it about 3 years ago, so
Damn it, you beat me. All right.
But the thing is, it's just does it matter?
No, it doesn't matter. You know what's funny is when I was in my 20s, I used to tell people, "Oh, I'm a beer snob." And when I was in my 30s, I decided, no, I'm not a beer snob. I'm a beer nerd. And now that I'm in my late 40s, really, really late 40s, I tell people I'm a beer enthusiast.
I just tell people I'm a beer drinker, and if they, I think you're kind of nerd, but you'll also never run into me in a lineup to get the new hype beer. So,
yeah. I mean, I'm so much of a beer enthusiast. I'm drinking one beer while we're talking about another beer that I'm drinking. I have a terrible habit of drinking all the beer we're talking about before the end of the show, so I can't go at cheers at the end. So I have to have a second beer to drink in between takes of the other beer so that I don't run out.
It's a rough life.
It is a rough life. All right, so tell me what's going on? What's coming up in the world of Ren? What are you going to be doing next? Who you working with? Can you give any names?
I think so. As I have this moment, I'm doing. I'm kind of everywhere. Like, to be honest, I'm working with a lot of Ontario breweries, doing sessions with them to like chat with the staff. So it's like, name a brewery. I've probably worked with them, which has been amazing, and I'm like super #blessed to be able to do it. I'm gonna be heading out to BC soon because travel is a thing again for me. Because like, double vaxxed, what? So I'm heading back to Parallel 49 because I know, right? So we have an ongoing partnership, which will go until they finally tell me to go home, which is amazing, and I love the changes that have happened and the evolution of that. So yeah, and I mean, I'm working with like some places in the States. I'm also just recently started working with Brewdog International, which is
well, I mean, and they've had a few things in the headlines lately that have not shown favorably upon James and crew.
Yeah, so right now I'm not working with him. I've actually never talked to him, but I'm working with the staff. So it's still early days. So I have nothing. We're working.
Cool.
Together. We'll see what happens. Yeah. So I kind of have the last little while has been either proactive breweries or those who are reactive and having to like stuff up, and that's kind of like where I'm at. But yeah, it's been really good. So I've gone from working very Ontario specific to going kind of international, which has been really lovely, and I'm very thankful for it. I mean, the company's only existed for just over 3 years, 3.5 years. So it's nice to see that I'm being taken seriously outside of my little patch of grass out here. So it's been good.
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the show is because, one, I didn't want it just to be a bunch of stodgy old white guys sitting around talking about beer, and two, I knew you were doing good things in the industry, and I'm fully supportive of more diversity and more equality in the craft beer scene. So I figured, okay, I've only got like 50 subscribers at the moment, but if my show gets big and people come back and they look at older episodes, they'll find you and they'll be like, holy shit, it's Ren. How the hell did he get Ren on his show? Because, you're kind of a big deal.
I am not a big deal. The cats don't care about me, so that tells me I'm not a big deal.
Well, to be fair, cats don't care about anybody unless they're there. I mean, my cats don't care about me unless I'm feeding them.
They do like me, but these guys get free pour. They're fine. But I'm very still. I mean, my wife always talks about it because I'm still very like G Willikers about things. People do come up to me and they're like, "Oh, hey, like you're Ren," and I'm like, "Cool. Who are you? I want to know about you." And I will still, in the midst of the conversation, still reintroduce myself. I'm not like not some fucking famous person. I'm just this like woman who's like, "Yo, I really love the beer industry, and I really love everything that's been happening with it, and I want it to be better." And I want it to be more welcoming, and we're a bunch of buffoons just screaming about some fizzy liquid, and we have to like get our shit together and like open it up to more people. So that's what I'm here to do.
Yeah, no. Well, in my eyes, and in a lot of the people who I travel with on Twitter, my beer nerds on Twitter. You're an everyday hero. I mean, you're out there trying to make breweries be better, and trying to make breweries do better. And that's all we could ask, because, we like the product, we want to like the companies, and we want to like the people behind it. And if it takes someone like you out there showing them what they're doing wrong, or helping to make make sure they make the right decisions. That's the thing we have to do.
Yeah, but I don't want to come off as like some superhero, because it's just like, you know what, part of it is that I think the way that we feel about it, like those of us who are the nerds and the enthusiasts, we love it for a reason. And I want to see the brewers be able to like continue that and carry it on to a point where people are like, cool, this is the spot for me, and this is the thing for me, and this is why I'm part of it, or I want to be part of it. So, yeah, what my day-to-day is kind of about.
All right. Well, we have come to the end of another episode. Believe it or not, we've been chatting for almost 40 minutes. I mean, granted, we got off track when we were talking about beers and being idiots and things like that. But this is the part of the show where I reserve a little time for my guest and myself to give a shout out to a brewery who they think is doing good things. So give a shout out to a brewery who you think is doing good things.
Oh, I'm rocking a t-shirt from Gateway City. Boom, right there. Gateway City is doing some awesome things and making solid beer, and they're just a fantastic group of humans. So if you have not, please do. They deliver throughout Ontario, so get on it.
I've never heard of them, so I will have to check them out. I mean, disclaimer, I am not from Canada. I've only been in Canada for 3 years, so, I don't know all the breweries yet, which is part of the reason why I'm doing this show, so I can get exposure to more breweries, because if I talk to people, they're like, oh, you got to try this brewery. Oh, you got to try this brewery. Oh, hey, you got to try this brewery. Well, I am going to give a shout out to one of my favorite breweries. I don't know if you've worked with them or not. I don't know where they are in the scale of things in terms of equality and things like that. But Muddy York, because I think they make fantastic beer. I don't know.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so you obviously love Muddy York. Yeah, they make fantastic beer. My favorite beer from them is their Krampus, which only comes out around Christmas time, obviously. But all the beers I've ever had from them, Jailfire, their rock beer, is one of my other favorites. So I mean that they're one of my favorite ones. But that's who I'm giving a shout out to.
Ah, best shout out. They're awesome. I love them to the ends of the earth.
All right. Well, I would like to thank Ren for gracing me with her presence on my show today, and finally, after 5 or 6 tries, getting our shit together so we could actually talk to each other, other than on Twitter saying, hey, I can't make it to the interview. So, having said that, Ren, cheers.
Cheers, my friend.
All right. Well, thanks for everyone who's watching this. Thanks for anybody who might watch this in the future. If you've enjoyed this rambling buffoonery session, please click subscribe if you want to be notified when new episodes come out. They come out every 2 weeks. Click the little bell. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or if you have a suggestion for a beer style you'd like to have me discuss with someone else, possibly. I don't know. I'm running out of people to ask for interviews. So hey, if you want to be on the show, leave a comment down below and let me know. I'll talk to anybody. Do you like beer? Do you know somebody who likes beer? Are you mildly interested in somebody who might or might not like beer? Hey, hit me up. We'll talk. All right. Well, until next time, I'm Rob from the internet. We've talked about beer. We'll see you later.